And our clients buy, about every $20 million worth of construction projects affects around 4,000 people.
Wow. Okay.
Manufacturers, vendors, subcontractors, everybody. So as a project manager and a superintendent for a general contractor, your personal decisions have public consequences. And believe it or not, they affect 4,000 people, but they affect, let's just say that they have a family of 2.5. That's 10,000
Yep.
people.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Building Scale, specifically the Building Connections edition, where we get to talk to people that we meet in the wild. This person actually digitally met, and I heard his story. I saw what he did, and then I said, I got to talk to this person. There's no question about it. Jason Sain was originally, he did lots of stuff, but took his construction company from 50 to 500 million, and then said, hey, I need to help other people because giving back is the thing that everybody should do. It's the thing to do. So he's now a coach, consultant for other construction businesses. It's just been fun. Out of Tennessee, it continued the Tennessee theme that we've been on for a while here. So exciting stuff happening there. Me and Jason talk about how you handle people, what that looks like, different leadership things. How do you teach a leadership team to do things, the processes that need to be built, and when he walks in the door and can see the holes in the armor, if you will, that need to be buttoned up so they can lift off. And I have a lot of analogy there, I think, going back and forth from rocket ship to armor and all kinds of stuff. But nonetheless, Jason, very exciting conversation, just simply because he just has done it. Like, I think that's always the trick when it comes to coaches, consultant people. It's like, well, what have you done? And like for him, it's like, well, the story, it's there. There's no question about it. He knows what he's talking about. So I hope you enjoy our conversation that we had. I know I had a pretty good time. So here's me and Jason.
Jason, I was just in your neck of the woods. I got snowed on in Tennessee, which I didn't appreciate, especially as a Arizonian. We don't play well in the snow, at least not in March, certainly.
No, I'm sure that was very foreign. Has your kids ever seen snow?
It was Franklin's first time remembering snow. So he originally from Chicago, so he did, when he was a baby, see snow then, but doesn't have any recollection of that. So we were in the car and he's like, oh, that's snow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Which then I got back to Arizona. We were going to go snowboarding up north in Flagstaff, and I got a message that, oh yeah, we closed the school and the beginners session because it hit 105 on Saturday, which was insanity. So yeah, good stuff all around. Yeah. But anyways, nobody wants to hear about my vacationing with Franklin. They want to hear about you and what makes you so awesome and what you're doing now. So can you just give a quick synopsis of why anybody would be smart to listen to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me just say, somebody would have to make a lot of mistakes on the front end to be in a position to contact me. But my name's Jason Sain. Grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. Went to Auburn University, War Eagle. Met my lovely bride there, graduated in 99, and I got married 4 days later, traveled around the country as a healthcare project manager, been happily married over 25 years and lived in 15 houses. So I was a real world traveling project manager.
Seriously, goodness gracious.
12 to 14 months for about 7 years. We would move. All my girls were born in different states. So I didn't know it at the time, but I was actually setting up a construction company in every one of those remote locations. I mean, everything from a job site trailer, internet, back in those days, I was renting a local fax machine and copy machines and did everything but, cut the checks to the subcontractors. So it was great experience. And like I said, I didn't know it at the time, but I was, mocking up a small construction company and then getting up and moving to another state and doing it again.
And repeat. Okay, so then what growth have you seen through your career? So obviously you were setting up these small construction places throughout the country, but then what did that look like big picture?
Yeah, so traveling around the country, I ended up in Naples, Florida. I was primarily building hospitals and had built a hospital. They were all ground up. Excuse me, I have a cold. Joined a construction firm in Naples, Florida. I think in 2008. They were doing about 50 million within a 50-mile radius. And I came on board, and with one other individual, we launched a healthcare group. Fast forward, the healthcare group grew to about 100 million. We joined the commercial division. Fast forward 17 years, and I was part of the ownership and leadership team that led the firm from 50 million to 500 million, licensed in over 20 states. And by the time I left in January of 22, we had 5 offices, and my specialty was everything project management, really. Operationally, project management coupled with financials is what my expertise was and still is.
Yeah, wow, you walk the walk, as they say. We talk about building scale all the time. There's no way to go from 50 to 500 without that across the board, especially in the operational sense. That is wild. So okay, so then now you coach, you help GC
Yes.
subs both. What does that look like?
Yes. I founded my company 2 years ago. The name of it is 1Degree. I'm a huge bow hunter, so that's where I got the name from. And my mission every morning while I wake up is to enhance the lives of those in construction, both at home and at work, 1 degree a day. With full integrity, mean that both at home and at work. I want to help construction companies become better, but their people become better. Husbands, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, and also superintendents, project managers, CFOs, CEOs. I believe in giving 100% at work and 100% at home. And I should say I have just brought on a partner, Cody Frederick, who's a rock star, also went to Auburn, and he has launched our third-party scheduling and data analytics division, and he has already doubled our revenue and client number. We've been here 11 weeks. Uh,
That's a good partner to find. I'll tell you
there's a
that.
major need for experts in scheduling and P6, and just having vision and forecasting, right? How do I get from where I am to where I want to be?
Wow, that's extraordinarily impressive. Wow, the impressiveness keeps continuing on. When we first talked, I was like, this guy's awesome. And then now it's like more and more and more. So the more I learn, the cooler the story is. So, okay, so then you're out of Tennessee now. Is that you work with clients digitally all in Tennessee? Are you all over the place? What does that look like?
Right now, my partner Cody is in Texas.
Okay.
And I am in Franklin, Tennessee right now, but I've got clients in Rome, Georgia, Huntsville, Decatur, Nashville, Fort Lauderdale. So
Okay.
I'd say
All
about
over.
percent of my time is in person at their office. The other 20% is remote behind the counter time.
Okay. No, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
Okay, so then are you working just with GCs, just with subs, both? What does that look like?
When I first launched 1Degree, my primary objective was just to pursue general contractors.
Okay.
And the Lord had another plan for me. Subcontractors are actually right now, the majority of my clients are subcontractors.
Okay.
Yeah, which was not my plan. So that's been great. I have learned so much about subcontractors and their needs and their pain points. And from a general contractor's point of view,
Yeah.
being able to consult with them and say, hey, no, this is what the general contractor's asking for. This is why they need that. And it's been so fun just to learn a lot too from their point of view.
I just had a conversation about, a subcontractor needs to do all the paperwork right. And as they're growing, like maybe they were doing more residential stuff and it was, getting paid on a 30-day schedule. And then they say, oh, I got this big commercial job opportunity. Great. But then they realize, oh crap, like there's a lot more paperwork that goes into this and stuff that they've never done before, not because they haven't had to. And then that becomes also maybe 60 days or 90 days to be paid. And then that changes the whole business. So that I feel like even though you're still building something, right? Like the concept of what a general contractor does and a subcontractor does, or the goal is the same, build the thing, right? However, I feel like they're so different. They're unbelievably different.
So different. And I have learned 2 significant things from my time with subcontractors, how important, number one, cash is king for a subcontractor. Cash is king. And typically their greatest risk outside of cash is labor. I have a great story. I have a great client who's electrician. They're about $20 million a year. And they have landed almost a $10 million contract. It's actually
Wow.
2 contracts, right? And just the cash flow, right, that's going to come from that project. So I help train and teach them how to do financial projections in Procore. And ironically, they're one of the very few subcontractors that not only uses Procore, but is actually doing financial, very complicated projections. So they're learning and have almost mastered job costing, financial projections, which has given them historical data in estimating. So like it has just transformed their business and their awareness of how important some of those fundamental things that a general contractor is actually doing and that they teach in school. Most people who are in a building science program like at Auburn, they don't dream of going to work for a subcontractor. They just don't. So I want to encourage any subcontractor, get out there and do some recruiting from Auburn.
So that's very, very interesting. That differentiation, and also the company, 20 million company, get $10 million deal. How does that company, how does it land it? How do you get that? Because I would say that somebody has to have some belief in them, right? Like there has to be some believe in you, and I'm believing the company, and I'm gonna take I'm not gonna say a chance because that's probably too harsh, but there is a higher risk because that's half your revenue. Like that's massive.
Yeah, this company invested heavily in their people and has invested heavily with my support in their processes and specifically in their pre-qualification, pre-construction process. And they did a great job convincing the general contractor through an RFQ process.
Okay.
So the sub was not chosen based upon what I call rip and read lowest bid. It was budgets and pre-qualifications and bonding capacity. And the owner has done a great job with cash and cash flow and financials and bonding capacity. So it was probably about 8 to 10 variables, right, that led to the final selection. And they are fired up and going to do a great job.
That's awesome. Okay, so then do you have to switch thinking hats when you go GC?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Certainly cash is king, but most general contractors are, pay when paid or even pay if paid. The general contractor, even if they self-perform work, typically 80 to 85% of their estimates are subcontracted out. So even if, like I have a client that self-performed concrete, so about 20% of their estimates are general conditions fee and concrete. So you still have, 80% of their GMPs or agreements are shifting the risk. But yeah, it's a totally different process of, there's a term called buyout where I have a general contractor where I have worked with them for over 2 years, wonderful client, training them on actually how to get buyout done very quickly. And what is the definition of buyout, which is an agreement that is signed by 2 people, but you've got to shift that risk to the experts, right, who are actually doing the job, and then relying on them for information so we can update a schedule and communicate to the owner when the actual due date or substantial completion date is based upon all of these experts that I've hired.
Got it. So now that you're working more closely, not that you weren't working with subcontractors before, but now that you're working directly with them in a coaching capacity, what are some of maybe the ahas that you now realize that while you were growing the business from 50 to 500, you're like, that was a blind spot to me that now I am now a lot more clear on.
Yeah. Having an understanding of the subcontractor's capability from an organizational standpoint, just not being so hard on them when I would ask for information, where when I hear their side of the story, now being on this side of the fence, I wasn't as clear as I thought I was in my head. And the information that they are reading isn't as clear. They don't have all the context or the background history that I did from the owner and the architect. They're just reading a spec book, and the model number may be incorrect or wrong. Or there's an RFI number 72 that I know about that they don't. So really just to be patient and understand that my communication wasn't as clear as I thought it was. Cause I hear them complain about their clients and I will tend to interpret what they really mean, what their customer really wants.
That's very, very, very interesting because lots of all of the differences there. What I guess maybe the good question is how do we how do we solve this problem for a full industry here, Jason? How do we wave the wand and make it better for everybody?
Can
What's
tell you,
something that we could do to get
here's
better?
my answer to that.
Okay.
And it all stems from how the owner and the delivery method that the owner chooses for the project.
Okay.
Every general contractor, every customer, the owner makes the rules. And some of the best projects I've ever been associated with had woven into the fabric of the project was lean principles and practices and really teamwork and bringing the major subs involved. Look, if I can somehow get the plumbing foreman or the concrete foreman and even the laborer installing the rebar to understand why it's been that way and it's not just another job, if I can get their heart behind the mission of the project, no matter what it is, quality improves, punch list goes down, lawsuits go down, and just everybody has a great experience.
Yeah, the proactive approach of a design build
Pre-construction,
or an integrated project delivery
IPD
methodology.
approach, absolutely. Getting just, and even if you don't want to go full IPD, I've done tri-party agreements before, but even if you don't want to do that, just convincing the client to let me build a strong team and as a GC, and I'll still competitively bid it, but let me build a strong team with the goal of eliminating value engineering once the documents are at CDs and push that responsibility on the team that I've chosen and really increase the accountability during design and pre-construction. And to do what I say, go slow to go fast. I'm going to go slow during design, make wise decisions. And if I can do that, I can build the job about 20 to 25% faster.
Yep.
That's proven.
Slow is smooth and smooth is fast, as they say.
Go slow to go fast. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. So then it starts from the owner, right? So like I guess then is it just proving to owners that like, hey, you can go about this a different way that will make your project more successful or quicker or cheaper or all the beauty that comes with being more or proactive on the front end, because that's essentially what's happening. We're measuring twice and then cutting once, like we're being more proactive on the beginning stage.
Yes, I'm making wise decisions on the front end, right? Look, there is a principle that I live by, and it's called the pain of discipline or the pain of regret.
Okay.
Have you ever heard that?
No, please share it with me.
Every decision that you make, the outcome of it is you're going to experience the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is you have to discipline yourself to study, to graduate from college or to take a certificate or to prepare for a meeting, right? You have to discipline yourself for that. But it's not until you get to that event and you realize I'm either prepared or I'm not prepared. Final inspections, right? There's either in that moment, there's the pain of discipline where you experience the pain of disciplining yourself to be ready for that event, or you fail the inspection and you have the pain of regret.
Well, what about some stories where you've experienced this pain, which I wrote down, pain of discipline or pain of regret?
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, there are too many of them. Yeah.
What about some examples from your client base that you've, as you're trying to teach this idea, I'm sure it comes up all the time where it's like, oh, you got to the punch list and you realize that there was significantly more than there should have been.
Yeah, well, couple things come to mind. I'm helping a number of clients come up with either new or improved bonus and profit sharing programs.
Okay.
And all those programs should really answer one question: how do we motivate the right behavior when no one's looking? And well, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret is you really have to discipline yourself, your project managers, and your accounting department to do accurate financial projections every month. So at the end of the year, we have accrued for enough bonuses, and we can actually measure a number rather than have it be a gut feeling. Well, there's a story where one of my clients got to the end of the year, and what we thought we had in the piggy bank to pay bonuses, we actually did not. Right?
Oof, okay.
Yeah. So that's a tough conversation that has to happen, and all the employees expect something, but there's another thing, but nothing has been communicated throughout the course of the year. We just hoped it would work out, right? Hope is
Hope's not a strategy.
Hope is not a strategy, and it's not in my owner contract either.
That's actually a great example, because you're either disciplined to do the thing each month and put the money to where
That's
it
it.
needs to go, or you have the pain of regret at the end of the year when you were like, oh, I actually don't have anything for any of you, which is super, unfortunate. Lots of families, especially at the end of the year, if that's when you're getting bonused out, Christmas time, all
Right.
that fun stuff, are looking for that to help them end the year on a high note.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh,
The material procurement process, I think everybody learned a lot during COVID, where material prices went up. Long lead items were no longer your normal generators and impact resistant rated windows. It was, I mean, a long lead item could be a toilet partition. It was just crazy. Right.
yeah.
So the pain of regret, or the pain of discipline, is having a really good submittal and material procurement process and disciplining yourself to hold the subcontractors accountable, building accurate procurement logs, incorporating those into your schedule to make sure that the project manager gets the superintendent the materials on the job site in advance of when they're needing them. The worst thing that can happen to a project, right, is the superintendent has the labor but doesn't have the materials. So there's all kinds of examples where I'm helping companies understand uh, the pain of regret or the pain of discipline.
You'd mentioned the split of life and business. You should be 100% in both of those aspects, which people talk frequently about the work life balance, turn it off, not turn it off, all kinds of different things that are said. Me personally, I believe they have to be intertwined. It
Yep,
is
I
such a
agree.
huge component of your everyday life to try to, like, say, don't think about this, or don't do this, or I have zero, brain happening after 5 o'clock or whenever you clock out. To me, seems like an impossibility. I don't know how anyone could do that. So how do you merge those two as you're trying to make not just great businesses, but great lives for everyone involved in the construction space, or the companies that you support? What does that look like? Is it a business coach, life coach? What are we talking about?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, a couple of my clients, ironically, have been husband and wife.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, and that was so fun. But I certainly became marriage counselor and business coach. Had to go back and forth. But yeah, that is my mission, right? I agree with you. I don't believe in. I just wasn't capable of turning it off when I got home, and I wasn't capable of not thinking about my wife when I was at work. And for a couple of years, I felt guilty for that. I felt like I'm doing something wrong, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. No, if my wife calls and I'm in an OAC meeting, I've got to get it. And if I'm at home and my owner calls, I've got to get it. So this balanced approach, I just personally wasn't able to do it. So, I want to help people give 100% at home and 100% at work. And what that looks like is having clarity and having confidence at both home and work. So if you're leading companies and even leading projects, if you have a relationship rooted in trust, which takes time, and you sense, if I have a project manager that is has a bunch of change orders that are 30 days old, or a superintendent that is not doing daily reports, I'm going to go talk to that individual and I'm going to actually try to mine for information and figure out, hey, how is he or she doing as a person right now? Is everything okay at home? Is everything okay at work? Because we have such good processes and procedures in place. That this behavior is not acceptable. So something must be going on in your life, and I want to help. So I'm trying to call the person up rather than call them out.
Okay. What are some stories of this mixed blend where you've seen either work impacting personal
Yeah.
life, or personal life impacting work?
Yeah. Had a client a couple months ago that is a residential contractor, and
Okay.
one of their employees was just all of a sudden coming to work late. Some days working, but working from home, and that wasn't really part of their culture. And just nothing was being said, nothing was being asked. There were some conversations about letting that person go, and come to find out that person had a flood in their apartment, and the company didn't know. That person didn't tell the company, and it wasn't until we had a team meeting that came out. Well, it didn't even cross the minds of the leaders to ask that person how it just was assumptions and expectations. So having those conversations, and that person who that happened to needs to feel safe to bring that to the company, right? That's a leadership issue. And then the leadership needs to feel comfortable and have a relationship rooted in trust where they can ask, in my opinion, those kind of personal questions. So, I mean, that's a great example where once they found that out, the company actually donated and fixed her apartment for her.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where is the, because in business, with HR in generality, there are lines of that's my personal life compared to not. What does that look like? How does a leader dance that line of like, I want to be personal with you because I care and it matters, but I also need to be conscientious of the HR ness of the world.
Well, I'm probably an HR's worst nightmare. I will admit I probably cross over the line because I truly want to fight for the other person's highest interest. And that may mean asking some questions after the relationship is built. I have to be careful. Right. I've got to build a relationship, individual built on trust. But high performing companies understand that the people run the business, not the processes, not the project. So um, another story is there was an employee that was having some trouble at home, some financial hardships, and a couple of her appliances. President found out about that and had delivered to her house all new appliances.
Okay.
What an incredible gesture. And that person now literally bleeds for that company because he made it personal, but in a loving way. And it impacted her life in a way that was very, very positive.
So that's the goal of your business, right?
That's
Like
the goal.
not just the growth of the business, but like,
No.
hey, I, as a leader, saw you were struggling or needed something. I wanted to ensure that we were there for you because that makes your life better. And if your life's better, our lives and business is better.
And our clients buy, yeah. About every $20 million worth of construction projects affects around 4,000 people.
Wow. Okay.
Manufacturers, vendors, subcontractors, everybody. So as a project manager and a superintendent for a general contractor, your personal decisions have public consequences. And believe it or not, they affect 4,000 people, but they affect, let's just say that they have a family of 2.5. That's 10,000
Yep.
people.
Yeah. Wow. That's empowering. It's a very powerful thought process. I frequently say I romanticize the idea of construction because it literally is the foundation for every business, right? Like it's like nobody gets to exist without some form of structure in the business sense of the world. If you work from home, somebody had to build the home, right? Like that's just the foundation of it. I think, well, construction is the start of every business, not just ones that are in the construction space.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. That's great.
So working with leaders and owners of businesses, their ego can come up at times. Resistance to change can come up at times. How do you get through some of the leaders that are needing to grow maybe on the personal side? Because I think that's the other piece of this. It's like if you're choosing not to grow on the personal side, hard to grow on the business side in a healthy way to eventually get to the goals you actually want. How do you help there? Or have you seen
Yeah.
that be true?
I have. There's 3 filters that I'm trying to figure out as I'm either interviewing for a project or have won one. And in the first month, I do what's called my audit or discovery period, where I don't provide any solutions, any suggestions. I'm just trying to earn trust. But there's 3 filters. That's the leadership, or certainly the CEO of the firm, the primary owner who has influence, has to be either humble, hungry, or hurting. And at least 2 of those 3 have to line up, or I'm not going to be a good fit. But one of the very first things I do if they pass that test is I'll have them take a construction specific personality assessment
Okay.
and it really arms me with information that expedites my answer to that question. Is it a people issue, or is it a process issue?
Mm-hmm.
But if the leadership, and certainly this leader of the company, is solely interested in profits, I'm probably not going to be a really good fit, because in order to have healthy profits, there's a person or multiple people behind every decision.
Yeah. No, I very similar mindsets across the board here, which is why we connect so well. So that it all makes sense.
I do have a
This has
story.
been, yeah.
I have a story that I wanted to share with that, where I was hired by a client, and I was allowed and had everybody take the personality assessment and go through some leadership assessment other than the leader.
Okay.
She did not want to participate in that. Everybody saw it, and it really changed the dynamic of, even, in my opinion, the assessment results and the meetings. So it did not work. And everybody saw it, and it's just so true that leadership starts with influence, and most influential leaders do set the culture and the pace of the company.
I absolutely agree. I feel like when you want a change in culture, it has to come from the top. Like, certainly you can have pockets of different acceptable behavior in different departments, depending on how big of an organization is. But in generality, if it isn't coming from the top, it is usually hollow, right? Because it's like, sure, we say that, but then what is actually done and what's actually displayed isn't, right? So it's like a good example from your experience, right? It's like, hey, we want to get better. We want to improve our business in whatever way. Great, awesome. Bring in Jason. Jason says, hey, this is how you do that thing. And it's like, if the leader then says, like, well, they can do it, but I'm not going to do it. It's like, well, then you're not actually that interested. Like, or minimally, this is not the pathway for you to get to that goal, because if immediately in the beginning end, which is just literally an assessment of like personality trait, if you're not willing to do that, like, how are you going to be candid with me in any way, and candid with the whole team to actually get the results you're looking for? And I don't know any team that can sustain not being honest with each other to get better, right? To create that 1% better every day or continuous improvement workflow. It's just, you have to be truthful with each other.
That's it. And I think that the one of the primary objectives of the leader, and when I say leader or leadership team, is to set the example in such a way that it makes its way out to the field. I believe that everything that we do, either a subcontractor or general contractor, must positively impact the field, the men and women out on the job site doing the hard work every day. And if it doesn't positively impact the way you actually build or pour concrete or install switchgear, then it very well may be meaningless.
Yeah, well said. This has been a ton of fun, Jason. I hope you've had fun. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, thanks. LinkedIn or the World Wide Web. 1 Degree, the number one, 1degree.cc stands for construction consulting. 1degreecc.com. Thank you.
Awesome. And then, is there anything like that you would like to tell the people before we say goodbye?
Yes, I would. There's a 4 Ps that I'd like to share with everybody. That's a filter on how you can make tough decisions.
Ooh,
and it is people, processes, projects, and then profits. So if you have to make a tough decision, you're not sure what to do, it starts with your people, then processes, then projects. Your projects and your profits will grow if you invest in your people and processes. And that's what we do.
Love that. Yes. No, absolutely. 4 Ps: people,
4 Ps.
process, projects, and profit, in that order. I'm going to guess is the important component. That's there, right? Okay. I love that. This has been a ton of fun, Jason. I hope you had as good of a time as I did.
Grateful.
And audience, until next time, adios. Thanks for listening to Building Scale. To help us reach even more people, please share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or on social media.
Remember, the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology.
And our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy.
So if you think your company's technology pillar could use some improvement, book a call with us to see how we can help maximize your IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/call. support.com/help.
And until next time,
Keep building scale.
scale.